So this morning I was edging in my front yard for like a good hour and a half.
Wait, pause.
All right, everybody knows me, but Grayson is now joining us. So
Yeah, hi there. My name is Grayson Hawk. That's not a name like I made up. That's like my actual name. Like my middle name is Hawk. I didn't just pick it. I changed it from Based Theory to Grayson Hawk, because too many people were calling me Based or Theory, and I'm just like, just call me Grayson. So that's what it is. My middle name is Hawk because my dad is super into falconry. He was a falconer. We always had a hawk in the backyard all growing up. So he actually wanted to name my first name just straight up Greyhawk. And my mom luckily shut that down, and they compromised as Grayson Hawk.
a falconer, huh? So he's got one of the gloves.
Yep, yep. He would pick me up from school with the bird and the glove sometimes. I was like known as that hawk kid.
That's
That's
So
awesome.
that's pretty wild. I've never known anybody that even knows anybody that knows somebody that knows anything about falconry, let alone
well,
does it.
it's like an old practice. It's one of the very few things that you still have to like have. You have to find a licensed falconer and apprentice with them to get your falconry license. And you have to, as part of the training, you have to go through all the different elements of it. It's like an art form that is still has, novitiates.
So what what the hell do you do falconry for? Like you can hunt with it, and I
Yeah.
think airports will employ falconers to try to keep like geese away because there have been some high profile crashes because of geese, like the Captain Sully, whatever that flight was called. But what on earth? What else do you do falconry
I think
for?
the main thing that my dad liked it for was just how cool it is. I think that's
Right.
basically it. He liked picking me up with a hawk because it's cool.
That's
And
fair.
he liked having a hawk and telling people he had a hawk because it's cool. I think really that's the main thing for him. Like he thought like they're his favorite animals. If you ever see his room, there's pictures of falcons and hawks all over. Like he just loves them. It's like it's his favorite animal. He wanted to have it as a pet. And yeah, I mean every week we'd, go out and hunt with the bird, usually for like rabbits or something, but you send the bird up. Usually he had a Harris hawk, which are actual like some of the only birds that are pack hunters. And so they're used to working in that team dynamic anyway. So they'd send the bird up. It would be circling overhead, looking for any prey, and you would beat the bushes. So I had fun doing it as a kid because all I had to do was run around and whack bushes with a stick and try to startle like rabbits or whatever, squirrels, anything to just make a run for it. And the hawk would be watching us because we're its teammates. And then the hawk would swoop down and get the prey. And I will say that part did kind of mess me up a little bit as a kid because like rabbits scream and it's kind of
It's
blood curdling and it's
yeah.
kind of brutal. I did not like that part. But then, the hawk would, my dad would rush over, get the rabbit away, and then kind of like chop it up, prepare it for the rest of the week, and the hawk would have a meal for the rest of the week, and then we go out hunt again. So it's like a hobby, basically, just a hobby.
Is that how he got your mom?
No, it's actually such a more embarrassing story. I wish that it's embarrassing. I would think like for my mom in particular. I think because like my dad wrote a diet book, like Neanderthal, eat like a caveman,
Oh,
and it's like a
interesting.
paleo diet book before paleo was like a big thing back in like the early '90s. And he had this bad habit of always starting conversations with people in public, like while they were eating, by saying like, "Oh, you ought not to be eating that," and then he would like talk about his diet. And like I hated that as a kid because everywhere I go with him, he'd always be starting conversations about his diet with random strangers while they're eating. And I was just mortified as a child for this. But that's how he met my mom. Like he started saying, "Oh, you shouldn't be eating that." I'm like, "How? How would any woman in the world like start a relationship with someone that does that?" But I don't know. I don't know. Apparently for her it worked or something, but that I am the result of that. So I guess I can't complain that much.
Well, doesn't Andrew Tate tell us that women need to be told what to do? Glowman, isn't that how that works?
Well, you see, as the podcast certified alpha, you can check my credentials. I would say, yeah, I think that is what he said. I watch 63 Andrew Tate videos a day, so I would know.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
Oh
yeah.
That's
God. I mean, my dad is probably, I mean, he is like, I wouldn't say that he's an Andrew Tate fan, but I think that's purely because he's too old for Andrew Tate. I think
to be
like his
online. Yeah.
politics and like the way he is, I think that he probably like if he was younger, he probably would be an unironic Andrew Tate fan. And like dad, I just like I'm glad that he didn't have the internet for like a long time.
Yeah, my dad. I don't know. The internet would probably radicalize my dad too. My dad's more of a like he. I don't know. Like he grew up poor in a very rural part of the country in South Dakota, so there's there's a lot of like conservative roots in there, I guess. But he's always hated the Republican Party. Like we never talked about politics until like Trump got on the scene like in 2016 because he was just bewildered by how much of a moron that guy was, and now he talks about it a lot. And I try to when he's talking to me, I try to be like, let's like literally talk about anything else because I don't care. So if I told your dad the peregrine falcon's not actually the fastest animal because falling doesn't count, would he get mad?
He would not get mad, but he would definitely argue back. Like he would not let you get away with saying that.
I'd just be like, no, it's definitely the cheetah or the pistol shrimp. That's the fastest animal in the world because of that.
In terms of just like how quickly it closes, that's not movement. I mean, come on, like I'm even arguing back now because like
I'm just
cannot
trying to
agree with
piss your dad off, so
you.
I'm just
Okay.
imagining
And
ways I control your dad.
we know because again, just to reiterate, I have 50% of that man's DNA. So like you are kind of also triggering me with this because I'm thinking like the mantis shrimp versus the pistol shrimp. Like what are the comparative speeds like of a mantis shrimp's punch versus a pistol shrimp's like claw collapse? Like who goes faster? Because I know the mantis shrimp, like they both are creating these kinds of cavities, like like they're literally punching or closing so hard that they're creating little bubbles that are then collapsing with the weight of the ocean. That literally collapses so fast it heats up to like the temperature of the sun or more. And like both of them are creating that. So who's doing it faster? Who holds the real title, right? I want a showdown on this.
Yeah.
I think there was actually a video where someone compared the two. I couldn't tell you who did it. I think I saw it on TikTok, but there was someone who actually, did all the nerd science stuff that alphas like ourselves wouldn't know about, other than, maybe Planet Peepison.
Yeah, maybe. Speaking
I
of,
personally, I don't know. Are you guys on Mantis Shrimp or on Team Pistol Shrimp? I'm on Team Mantis Shrimp myself.
like if guessing which one's fastest or which one's cooler.
For me, it's both. And the reason why I'm on Team Mantis Shrimp.
I mean, they have 12 photoreceptors,
Yeah.
which is insane.
I mean,
and yeah, the
it's just not.
thing is pretty
Sorry.
cool. Oh no, I was just
I was gonna say it's just not fair that one organism gets the world's best vision and the world's fastest punch. Like this should not be one organism that has both of those. Like that just seems like hacks in whatever sort of dev team came up with this in intelligent design. You know?
yeah.
Yeah, but the other one has
Tears
like
should do
a
a video.
semi-ranged attack. I don't know. It's hard to say.
Yeah, I wrote about animals that can that launch projectiles in my second book, which I haven't worked on in weeks. Because it's about myths. It's called Facts That Aren't True, and there's an animals section, which was I think that's my second favorite part of the book. The history, culture, and geography section's my favorite part because there's just so many cool things in there. But the myth is that porcupines can shoot their quills. And I don't know why people think that. I think my guess, what I wrote in the book was, they shed quills and,
Yeah.
they'll shake like a dog or something like that. And so maybe somebody just saw a porcupine shed quills and they thought they could like whip their tail and fire them. That's my guess. I have no idea though. But
I
yeah, I went
could
over.
guess.
What's that?
If I had to guess, I would say maybe it would be because they do shed their quills. Can't they also like shed their quills off when they like stick somebody with it? So like if somebody could see the aftermath of like somebody or something stuck up with porcupine quills, maybe they could, if they were only seeing the aftermath and not seeing the actual action itself, maybe they could think, oh, maybe it shot them out.
Yeah, could be. There just aren't any
Yes.
sources that like say like there's no for a lot of stuff in the book you can find there's something that somebody wrote in the 1800s that says blank and blank is not true, but this one just wasn't the case. But yeah, I went over animals that actually do launch stuff, but I don't think I mentioned the pistol shrimp at all. I mentioned archerfish, thorny devil or no, horny toads because they can shoot blood, and
How
bombardier
terrifying
beetles,
is
I
that, by
think,
the way?
and a couple other things.
Bombardier beetles are a fascinating example because it's like one of the go-to examples that creationists
Yeah.
will like bring up. I don't think I mentioned like my YouTube channel. Like I do debate creationists like more often than not. I do, like pseudoscientists of any kind. So I have heard this exact argument being brought up like multiple times of them saying, "Oh, the bombardier beetle that can't evolve because it's irreducibly complex because it's mixing two different chemicals together to get its unique chemical spray." And so they're saying, "Oh, you can't have one without the other, or you don't have a bombardier beetle, so therefore it couldn't have evolved." I hear that argument all the time. Has that come up in any of your debates?
Um, I think maybe one time somebody brought it up on TikTok. I wrote about it in my first book. Because the thing with a lot of the irreducible complexity claims is they imagine that they forget that evolution means gradual change over time. So, like, we don't know how the bombardier beetle evolved its whatever. I did read fairly recently that those chemicals, I want to say hydroxychloroquine, and that's not it. It's something quinone, but I can't remember exactly what. No, quinone is fucking malaria medicine. I don't know. It's hydrogen peroxide and this other chemical, but they've found that in other beetles with a slightly different purpose. But what I write in the
So
book
I
is, oh, go ahead.
I know about what you're bringing up, the more recent one, because basically they had shown that there is a functional advantage to only having like one half of that chemical family. I also don't remember the name of the chemical family right now, but people could look it up. But the the advantage was that like just having Sax with this inert chemical, right? That it doesn't do anything unless you mix it with the other one and you don't have the other one. But even just having Sax like in the like abdomen of the beetle, um or like around where the same sacs are in the bombardier beetle, even just having them in that location inert chemically reduces that population of beetles from being predated upon, because those inert chemicals are like really bad tasting for predators.
Yeah.
And so overall, when the population of beetles has that, they get eaten less. So there's a functional advantage. So yeah, your point is pretty much dead on. Every time that creationists bring up irreducible complexity, the answer is literally almost always that the function that the like steps in the past did were a slightly different function than whenever they were augmented and like new components evolved and they got a new function, like with the bombardier beetle, goes from just tasting bad to producing an actual, volatile chemical mix. Like,
Yeah.
this is the case for basically every example of irreducible complexity.
Yeah, because they'll say, well, they have to be stored in separate sacks or it'll melt the bombardier beetle, and they have to shoot out of the body this fast or the chemicals will combine too close to the body and that'll kill it too. And it's like, yes, or, well, that's true, but like, imagine that the chemicals weren't as lethal in the past, and only when certain bombardier beetles evolved the ability to shoot them a little bit faster, then selecting for a more potent variety or a potent combination of chemicals could be advantageous. And the chemical we couldn't remember was hydroquinone. That's what it's called. But it's actually really hard to explain that stuff, because it does, like, there's tons of stuff that, like, I, as somebody who believes this stuff, have run into troubles with. It's like, yeah, how the fuck would that work? Another one they like to talk about is camouflage, like leaf mimicking insects. It has to be perfect or it won't work, because the birds will eat them. Therefore, it can't be selected for. And the problem with that is you're already imagining all the insects already have the perfect camouflage. And so the ones with less than perfect camouflage don't get, or are more likely to die. It's like, yeah, no shit. But if it evolved, then at one point, none of the insects had the camouflage. So only if you have extremely rudimentary camouflage and nobody else has any, it's advantageous. And it's lack of creative thinking.
It also it doesn't have to be perfectly camouflaged in order to confer an advantage. Like,
that's what I was saying.
That's just such a flawed way of thinking about things, because it works at various distances. Maybe up close, the camouflage is not going to be good enough to trick any predator, but maybe from a distance it is, or maybe at certain low light conditions it is. And in that case, yeah, like you said, when there's variation in a population, some insects are going to stick out more than others comparatively. And even if it's just, up close, that camouflage wouldn't be good. If the predator is like let's go with the example of a hawk or a falcon, right? It's above the forest floor. It's looking at who, from a far distance. It's going to notice the one that's sticking out like a sore thumb that much easier than the one that's even just a little bit more camouflaged.
True story. Well, man,
yeah, this is the only point I wanted to make on that. I mean, with like irreducible complex things, we have literally seen them evolve in a laboratory setting. Like, it's not like you can just say such a thing is irreducibly complex according to this, Michael Behe's criteria, therefore it could not have evolved, because we have seen literal systems that meet Michael Behe's criteria of irreducible complexity, and we have watched them evolve in a lab. The go-to example I was thinking of was there's like this mRNA experiment that this replicating RNA experiment that they set up, right? It was like an origin of life, abiogenesis, RNA world type of experiment. And they had this one RNA that just would replicate itself over and over and over again. And then they wanted to just, press start and see how that evolves. And what ended up happening is that single RNA type ended up splitting into 5 different subtypes of this RNA. And they specialized. And they became an irreducibly complex system where all 5 of them were necessary for all of them to reproduce. And if you took away one, then all of the rest could no longer reproduce. And they were no longer self-replicating like the original ancestor. So they evolved into an irreducibly complex system. It's like we've watched it happen. So just saying, like, labeling something as, oh, it's irreducibly complex, so that means it can't evolve. It's like, no, we know that, irreducibly complex things is not even an actual scientific term, but even if you're playing with their own vocabulary, it still is not a logically sound argument.
Nice try, but you started with an irreducibly complex system in the first place, which is the living cell. So no points.
That's exactly what they say.
That is exactly what they would say. So the original plan to start this off with was we were just going to talk about shit we did this week, whether it's like what we learned or just whatever, nothing important. Because the point of the podcast is to just goof around as much as it is to talk about things that are important and interesting. So this morning, my cat, who's right over here, who I absolutely love and hate a lot of the times, she, for the last month, she never did this, but like clockwork, she gets up at exactly 5:30 and starts scratching around our headboard and stuff like that. So
that's fun.
For a month, every day at 5:30, she's been getting me up. So I usually pick her up and just take her to a different room, or I'll just go lay on the couch and try to finish my sleep, because she'll just keep doing that over and over again. Well, this morning she decided to barf onto the comforter in the middle of the night, so that was great.
Oh,
A
lucky
little gift.
you.
Yeah, and then she woke me up. She actually didn't wake me up until about like 6:30 today, so that was nice. So I had went to Lowe's yesterday to get a bunch of stuff. So this morning I was edging in my front yard for like a good hour and a half.
Wait, pause. Phrasing.
What the Sigma?
No, like here you can see I think my fingernails are still dirty from all the edging.
Oh wait,
so-
wait. Maybe just we pump the brakes, we back up, we reword, and move forward.
My camera won't focus. So my camera still won't focus. The grass in my front yard, we have like there's like lava rock landscaped around it, but we
Nice.
have Bermuda grass which grows like a vine kind of in a way. So it just like weaved its way into all the rocks, and you can't like with a weed eater, you can't edge it properly or trim it, whatever you want to call it. So I like dug it all out by hand because I couldn't even use a rake. It was so like a garden rake. So I had to dig it all out by hand. And then this morning I had to dig it all out some more. And then I bought some like plastic edging and just edged in the yard.
Gosh,
I think there
what a
might
wonderful
have-
start to your day.
There might have been something significant that you did this week too. Maybe like some sort of argument
Oh yeah, I
or
debated Kent Hovind.
maybe
Yeah.
that you
Yeah.
had with someone. I just what was his name again? Was it Ken?
Yeah, Ken.
Oh, Kent Bovine.
Ken Ball. I don't know who gave him that nickname, but I hear that all the time now. But yeah, debated Kent Hovind. It's pretty embarrassing for him.
That was really, really bad for him. He defaulted to the same question about 49 times.
Yeah.
It was
carbon dating,
ridiculous.
show any evidence that the carbon dating, blah blah blah. Like, it's been correlated with archaeological sites of known age, with dendrochronology, tree rings, and with sediment layers. While you still haven't provided any, he just kept saying carbon dating. We don't know if it's accurate. There are problems with it. Like,
I don't know how many times you
5
said
times,
radiometric
6
dating.
times. Yeah.
I wish, there's only one question that I wish that you had asked Kent during your cross exam, which was, Kent, do you know what a cross exam is? Like, I wish that he had been asked, because he clearly didn't. He kept asking you questions during your chance to question him, and like you kept pointing it out, the moderator kept pointing it out, and he still was just like, well, I'm just trying to figure out why this. I'm like, Kent, stop asking questions until it's your turn to cross-examine. Like, he didn't get it.
Yeah.
That may have been one of his worst appearances,
he's
if I'm
not-
being completely honest.
He's not, how do I say this? He's horrible at debating, but he's actually pretty good at not debating. You know, does that?
Yes.
He's actually pretty decent. You know, the debate. I'm gonna make a video next week, and I'm gonna go over everything that I didn't cover, because Grayson, you saw all the shit that I wanted to go over, and that'll just be like for other people if they ever want to debate, they can use. And like, there's a gazillion examples. I don't go over the heat problem like really at all. There's like a very small mention of it in there. But like the fossil fuel thing, I think I've never seen anybody do that before, so I think that's a good one, an interesting one. But
His response was so funny too. He's just like, well, oil companies fail all the time, so I'm not going to take responsibility for like the fact that not a single one has ever been successful by using biblical geology.
and according to the flood, I predict that the oil will be found in the ground.
That was good.
Give
And
this
then,
man all the money. Let him dig for oil. He knows exactly where to find it. It's underground. Why didn't we think of that?
Well, when he was supposed to be asking you questions, he just kept rambling and making statements, and the moderator was like, "So yeah,
Can we
Peterson,
land
just
this
consider that a
plane?
question."
Yeah, he said, "Can we land this?" I can't believe Donnie like
Oh,
moderated Kent to that degree. That shows just how bad it was. But yeah, the first 10 minutes, I can't even remember, but he said birds and clams are in different layers because feathers are less dense than clams, and then you don't know about like he would say 5 things, and several different times I had to go, So what's the actual question? Like the last thing you said? And
Yeah.
then he'd go, no, here's my question. And then he would say something completely different. So I feel like,
It's so weird. It's so weird that during your cross exam, he was able to pose succinct and clear, concise questions. But during his opportunity to
yeah,
ask you questions, he was not able to form like a single clear question to you.
that's weird. I didn't think about it that way. Yeah. He could ask questions when it wasn't his turn. And then when it was his turn, he couldn't ask any questions. That's funny. Huh. Yeah. I feel that my feeling about the debate was I actually think I didn't perform as well as the first time, but he did so much worse. So I couldn't say which debate I think went better for the side of sane people, the side of sanity.
Honestly,
But
I watched both of those. I watched your first one with him and the second one. Maybe I'm biased, but maybe I'm biased because you included clips from my debate with him in the opening for the second one. But I thought that your performance was like pretty like good quality throughout. I wouldn't say that the first one was better than the second one, at least in my opinion, because you were freaking nailing Kent on points on both, where like he was just unable to offer any coherent response to you at all. Like my favorite was honestly the very first part of your questioning where you brought up the fact that he showed this entire like creationist ASMR video of like the world's most relaxing man explaining creationist geology, and he's just like, oh, so in this video they're showing how all of the layers could be formed like
laterally,
this,
he kept
like
saying
this.
that, which
And then
completely contradicts his stupid
yeah,
polystrate
yeah,
fossils.
2 seconds later, he wants to say that like there are trees where the layers form this way. It's like those are two different models, and you're saying they're both your model, and you correctly pointed that out, and he just like didn't get it. He like, at least he probably did, but would not publicly acknowledge it. Like he just wanted to move on and just deflect.
Yeah,
I thought you nailed him with it. Honestly, I thought you did great for like pointing that out because I've heard him make those same arguments and I didn't catch the contradiction. So like I thought you did great to point that out. Like that was something I've genuinely never heard somebody point out as a flaw in Kent's model, and he had nothing.
yeah. I
Nothing
was
to say.
writing down. These are the notes I was writing down while he was talking, and I wrote down the thing about he asked where did all the dirt come from. I never really got to that because it's too stupid to even respond to. But yeah, when he said
Did they come from space?
the rocks all have to be the same age, so you can't date them. I was like, Kent, are you 6,000 years old? No. And like, there we go. So we've gotten rid of that idiotic talking point. So
Yeah. I think I asked him a similar question when I debated him at Dinosaur Adventureland in person. And like because he brings up the same points every time. And I'm like, yeah, like Kent, your atoms are the same age as my atoms. Are we the same age or are you maybe like a couple years older than me? Like, and he has no problem like saying, "Oh, well, we date our age based on our formation, not our material." And then all of a sudden, when he wants to talk about geological layers, all of a sudden, you can't date those based on their formation. You have to date them based on their material. Like he just can't like, exercise critical thinking in two areas at the same time.
yeah,
Like,
I was also really the first debate. I was genuinely shocked that he kept the, what confirming my prophecy. I guess like doing
yeah.
what I said he would do over and over again.
Yeah.
The second
You
one,
said jump, and he said how high.
yeah, basically the second one, it wasn't exactly. It wasn't exactly like that, although it kind of was. But I think I broke the fourth wall and looked at the camera and said 4 or 5 times, "No evidence, just what if statements." Which I don't know if I said that in my. I kind of alluded to that a little bit in my introduction or opening statement or whatever. But yeah, just not even trying.
I think in my personal opinion, I like the second one more just because sure you didn't hit on as many topics, but you held his feet to the fire on every single claim he made. And he was at a loss for words for most of it. All he could do was repeat the script and hope that you would move on.
Yeah, I did a way better job of when he would be. I did this multiple times. I said, Kent, I would ask him a question about the secular data, and he would start talking about the flood. And I made sure to be like, Kent, I didn't ask for an alternative explanation. Where is your issue with this data? And he had to resort to saying the stupidest shit. He said that science is just a conspiracy. He said, well, I've never looked at these numbers before. You drew some dots or you have some dots on a graph. It's like,
he started comparing the
data
science
means
to World War II
like,
German regime.
Doing that over and over again. You know who drew graphs of Hitler?
You know what was my favorite one was when he was like, "Oh, well, what if they found a Tiktaalik next week?"
Yeah.
like what if they just found a Tiktaalik in nature? It's like, okay, sure. Like that doesn't change anything.
Yeah, what if we found Jesus? Then what?
Yeah, like what if we found Vishnu, Kent? Would that change things for you? If like next week Vishnu came down, how about that? If we're gonna just toss out random hypotheticals and you're allowed to say, oh well, what if we just found a living Tiktaalik? Like then, oh, what if we found Vishnu next week?
Yeah, yeah. So I will say, said Loch Ness monster and moved on.
Exactly, and that was like the perfect way to handle it too. Just pointing out like what a weird argument that was. Like, yeah, but I will say. And this is related, like your ability to not take the bait was what I think was the most impressive part of the debate. Because I know myself in debates, when people say things as like idiotic as some of the sentences that Kent was saying in response to your questions, I would have forgotten what I asked him because I would be too shocked by the thing I just heard him say, and I would have to ask a follow-up question or I have to point out why it's so stupid. And you like expertly did not take the bait on like most of those. You said like, "Oh, that's not what I asked you, Kent." Like, and you would redirect it back to what you asked and not just like he would just say something so out of left field and so insane that like I just know myself and I know I would have taken that bait and just be like, are you serious? But X, Y, and Z debunk that. Or, you know, like I would just get lost with what he just said and I would lose track of the line of questioning. So like kudos to you for not getting distracted.
I do what I can. I'm posting
You sound a little bit distracted right now, honestly. I
heard everything you said. I'm promoting the podcast on TikTok right now.
Okay.
But yeah,
Gotcha.
I don't know with the taking the bait thing. I don't know. I knew from the inception of it that my plan was, nope, we're only going to talk about the secular data or whatever. So I don't know. I have so much practice talking to morons.
And you know, to the one thing that I thought was kind of funny to Oven's, I guess, credit, whenever you would ask him a line of questions, it's like he knew exactly where you were going with it, and he would try his absolute hardest to answer in a way that was consistent with his model. And you would still pick it apart and be like, well, that doesn't make sense compared to what you said before.
Yeah.
You had him at a loss for words.
And all that shit.
It was bad.
You couldn't even get him to acknowledge that if Sally has no evidence supporting that she stole from the cookie jar, and the other kid has cookie crumbs on his hand, he would not acknowledge that was evidence that kid stole the cookies. I'm like,
maybe he got the cookies somewhere else.
That really shocked me because I was like, Kent, this has nothing to do with you being right, me being wrong, or anything. This hypothetical threatens you in no way whatsoever. I mean, it actually kind of does, and maybe he knew that because he knows he has no evidence. He can only make what-if statements. So I don't know if he did that on purpose or if he just is such a skeptic that he can't believe in anything except what he believes in.
I think it's like he is so primed to not accept anything that you say that like he will not like getting him to answer a simple yes or no question is like pulling teeth. If you had asked him, is the sky blue? He would not have answered yes because you were the one
asking. The sky can actually be several different colors.
Exactly. He just can never answer in the affirmative to any question that you ask because you're the one asking it. It
Okay.
doesn't
I
matter.
wonder though. There's two things that I kind of attribute to that. Either one, it's not exactly the same as like a guilty conscience, but he almost knows how you could compare that to his arguments, and he's trying to, I guess, be proactive about it, try to get, out in front of the line, I guess. Or he's trying to sound, I guess, smarter than he actually is. And I can't tell which one it actually.
Is he doing like, well, actually, to try to like sound like he
Yeah.
actually is like, oh,
I
he-
can't tell.
yeah.
So I can share with you what he told me when like the cameras were not rolling or whatever. Like the last thing that he said, because I went and I visited Dinosaur Adventureland and stayed the night there and had a debate with him there. And I can tell you the very last thing that he said as I was leaving, the last thing he said to me, like he shook my hand or whatever, gave me a little certificate that I went on the tour, like a little diploma, and then was just like, said something to the amount of like, oh, I can tell that you want to get to the truth and you value knowledge and you're going to spend your whole life climbing the ladder with the rungs of truth and you're going to get all the way. And when you get all the way to the top, I'll see you at the top and I'll say hi because I've been there all along. Like that's the last thing he said to me. So like he seems like thoroughly buying into his own bullshit, Like I mean, he seems like he thinks that he has all the answers and is the one that's just objectively correct about it all.
Do you think he likes the smell of his own farts?
Yes.
I mean,
he's got a little wine glass and he's like
wine glass. Aren't they those little they're called snifters, right? There are like little glasses that are called.
You would know more than me. I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, you're the fart connoisseur here.
No, they're actually the little are they called? Yeah, they're called snifters. The little.
I legitimately do not know about this. I just
like,
want to be clear and on the record about that.
They're like really small. Like if you ever go to a brewery and you ask for a sample, it'll come in a really little glass. It's like goblet shaped with a tiny little.
I don't want to
stem.
sample a snifter.
They're called snifters. All right, fucking deal with it. All right, so somebody I don't want to talk about Kent Hovind anymore, but when you said like is the sky blue or whatever, have you ever heard this idea that like for a really long time people didn't consider blue a color?
Yes.
It's weird. I remember looking into this. One of the auxiliary Vsauce channels did a long video on it. And now I'm trying to remember, did I look into this some more and some other sources were saying like, no, they thought it was a color. That's all stupid. But now I don't remember. But like people would draw rainbows without the color blue.
Yeah.
But and you can't say it's because blue pigments were hard to make because the sky was blue in those same paintings. And there were some other ideas where I think anthropologists, they talk to people about like people that still have like traditional cultures or whatever, and they ask them about like the color of water like being blue, and they were like, no, it's not. It can be black, it can be gray, it can be green. So like, and the same for the sky. They're like, well, yeah, like it is blue sometimes, but it changes color every single day. In the morning, it's different colors. So to them, like the idea that the sky was blue didn't make any sense. I guess it's like, I don't know. It's like trying to ask the question, how old is a person? Well, a person's always a different age. So you can't say that a person, how do I want to say that? Because that like a person obviously has an age, but like there's such a thing as the age of people or something like that. It's like, no, they start young and they hopefully die old. So there's no such thing as what age people are or whatever.
So, okay, there's two different directions I kind of want to go to this because I wanted to address the sky's blue thing, but then you were talking about the age of people, and I was literally just got into an entire argument about specifically the age of people and whether or not pro-life people, if they're being consistent, should count their own age starting from their conception rather than their birth, which I think they should. Like, if they're making the argument that life begins at conception, and I ask them, how old are you? You need to start from your conception if you're being consistent. You cannot start your own age. When I ask how old you are, you need to start from the embryo, basically, like the fertilized zygote. Like if you're being consistent, because if you're starting from your birth, then you're saying that you started at birth.
Well, yeah, but
So that's not consistent with their
but it's
worldview.
called your birthday.
Yes, but your
Not
birthday
your-
does not necessarily need to be correspondent to your age, and it shouldn't
I
be
guess.
if pro-life people are being consistent. They can celebrate their birthday, but that's not how old they are. That's just the day they were born. To be consistent, they need to start counting their age. They need to add 9 months to their age, and then that would be how old they are if they're being internally consistent in their own worldview. But anyways, that was just a complete tangent because you brought that up as an example. The point with the sky being blue, I think it's mostly a linguistic convention. Like if like you know how they say like certain like Inuit cultures will have like over 200 words for snow.
Yeah, it's
And
also
if you
false,
ask
and I
them,
wrote about that in my second book.
oh, that's a false conception. Okay,
Yeah.
well, the point still stands in that it doesn't matter how many different types of words they have as long as it's more than one. The point I'm making still stands is that if you ask somebody that has all these different words for snow, what color is snow, they would not be able to supply an answer because they say you're not being specific enough. You're not saying what type of snow. And so if somebody says the sky is blue, but you in your language, you don't have just one word to describe all the shades of blue. And in your language, you have a different word for each of the different subgroups of blue. If somebody just said the sky is blue, you said, well, no, that's not specific enough. I can't agree with that. So I think it is just a linguistic convention. The people that didn't differentiate between blue and green just didn't have the words to differentiate them. They had one word that referred to all those different shades. So like how we would consider different shades of blue to be the same color, blue, those people would consider blue and green to be the shades of the same color. So that's why that they would depict it that way. That's my take on it anyway. About it's just a linguistic thing about how your brain is trained and primed by the language you speak to think about the world in certain ways.
That makes sense. The thing about the snow is they English has this property too. It's called polysynthetic. I would never memorize that, but you can create new words just by combining like prefixes and suffixes or whatever with root words.
Mm.
And so like if you say like wet snow, like I'm from the Midwest, I have a lot of ways to describe snow. There's dry snow, fluffy snow, wet snow, heavy snow, whatever. And so anthropologists that didn't really know much about them thought that these were all these unique words for snow, but they were just describing it in different ways. And that was part of that's embedded in a different myth, which is that the Hopi people have no concept of time, which was this really weird, really popular myth that some guy wrote.
I haven't heard of that myth, but now I'm actually like very interested. So, and you said that this was part of your upcoming book where you examine these myths.
Yeah,
So
the Facts That Aren't True book.
okay, I'm definitely gonna have to snag that one because that's a myth I haven't heard that I'm like super interested in. Is different ways that people can conceive of time and whether or not we're all conceiving of it the same way and what that says about the actual nature of the physical phenomenon of time.
Yeah. Well, I was just gonna say the what I like about the book is you can read it backwards, inside out, or whatever, because like it doesn't tell a story or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I like it. I like the book a lot, and well, I don't know. We'll see how it does, but hopefully,
Cool.
hopefully,
What
it does
exactly-
better than my other one.
On
What
your
exactly
point
does
with
it mean?
the compound words for snow, that was something new that I learned. So thank you for that. I mean, I literally have made it one of my goals to challenge myself to like learn something new every day. So, you helped me with that goal for today. So thanks for that. I learned about it's a common misconception that there are 200 unique words for snow. I guess that they're compound words essentially. Kind of similar to the way the Germans put a lot of words together, right? You see German words that are just like
Yeah.
a whole sentence without spaces.
Yeah.
What are
He
you
calls
saying?
himself a man, and he doesn't already know everything. That's hilarious. Ironic.
And I was just gonna say, when you say read it inside out, what does that mean? Like you start from the middle and then just go wherever?
Yeah, like you could read it backwards. I mean, not like literally read the words backwards or inside out. Like I don't mean go to the middle, read one word, go to the beginning, read another word. It won't make
Well,
sense
that's
if you
how
do
you.
that. I promise it
That's
won't
Okay,
make
that's
sense if
just
you do that.
just had to confirm because I was definitely gonna try that. I was gonna
that's
give it
how
a
you.
shot.
That's how you find all the satanic messages. Is if you read
Yes.
Mr. Peterson's book backwards. That's where all the messages from Lucifer show up.
Oh my God, that's an amazing idea. Just on one page, you have to have it where like the start of each letter on the line spells out like a message.
That would be funny. You know what? I'm going to do this right now. I'm going to take my first book and I'm going to read it inside out and see what we get. I'm just going
All
to
right.
read the first word that I see. Theories to pharmaceutical, discussed, true, whatever, analysis, Bible, Christianity. Oh, that's funny. Person,
Oh,
chance, anyone, terrible, measurable. That was not a
Whoa, I'm
sentence.
picking up on the patterns that you're putting down in the ether there.
Um, Glow
that's,
Man,
that's good.
remember the the flat Earth Bible chick that we trolled?
Oh yeah.
This was the most epic thing of all time. Grayson, you probably don't know what I'm talking about, but it's my most viewed video on TikTok. It's got like 6 million views. But we didn't know she was a flat earther at the time, but she was reading the Bible, and I sent it to Tyler, and he was like, you should troll her and just tell her to read some like horrendous verse or whatever. So I was like, oh yeah, Numbers 31:18, let's do that. So I typed it in there, and she had no idea. And it's
Is that the ordeal of the bitter water?
is what?
Is that the ordeal of the bitter water?
No, it's
You should show the
therefore
video.
go and kill all the children and kill all the
Oh.
adults, but keep all the girls for yourself. And she starts reading it. She gets like 5 words into it. She's like, now therefore kill all whoa. And then she like stops, and he was fucking he in the chat, he was sitting there going, ma'am, please read it in Jesus' name, amen. It was so funny. And she was just like, I don't think I like this verse. But anyways, I started checking out her content. She has a 3-part series on Obama is the Antichrist. And
God.
it's the stupidest fucking thing ever. It's just like what I was doing here. She just like went on Twitter, and she just like looked at stuff he would write on Twitter, and she'd just be like, isn't that interesting? And it would be like
She just asked the
something,
questions.
yeah,
Asking
something that
questions.
isn't even about anything. And she went over his list of all of his favorite books from that year, and she was like, The Wager, huh? Doesn't that remind you of something? I was like, I've read that book. It's a fucking amazing book. It's about a shipwreck. It's actually an incredibly good story. Everybody should read that book. And she, like, in her own video, she like predicted the criticism she was gonna get. And so she was like mocking those criticisms. She's like, but did you read the books, Jen? But did you? And then she unironically did this. But did you read between the lines? So she's just like, did you make shit up about what the words say? I was like, I can't believe you just unironically did that.
That's such an amazing argument. It's like saying, like, yeah, sure, I didn't read the lines, but I read between them. Like, you can't read between the lines if you're not reading the lines. That's not how that works. Like,
Yeah.
I think it's even worse for the people who fall for that. Like they listen to that and they're like, no, she's got a point. I think she's onto something when she's really not saying anything.
yeah, I have an uncle that told me because like he's like the crazy MAGA uncle that I've got, and he thinks that he will live to see the rapture and the end of days, and that it's any day now. Revelation's coming, so yeah, that's who I have in my family. And he told me one day, because I accused him, I'm like, dude, you think Obama's the Antichrist? And he's like, Grayson, all right, don't be ridiculous, okay? I'm not insane. I'm not crazy. Obama is an Antichrist, not the Antichrist. One of, like,
One of the many.
yeah. So no, he's not that crazy, okay? Come on, he's just one of the Antichrists.
People were asking for the video, I think, so I sent it there in the YouTube chat. But
It's so good.
Nice, nice. So but beyond yard work and speaking with he who shall not be named, anything else happen on Planet Peterson this week of note that you want to share, or?
I don't think so. No, I mean nothing interesting. I just sitting around doing stuff with the house. It's pretty fast. I forget shit all the time. Like I was I don't know why I do. I think I do this on purpose just because people with egos really bother me, but like I talked to my dad on the phone a while. This is like several weeks ago. He was like, "Is anything interesting going on?" And I was like, I literally couldn't think of anything. And then like later on in the conversation, I was like, "Oh, wait, actually, I have a phone call with a CEO of a major book publisher this weekend. I just finished my second book, and there was like a couple other things." And so the guy said he's not interested. I'll just drop that bombshell.
I will retract my claps.
Yeah, yeah, take them back. Just take them back. But yeah, I'm not good at remembering that I do things somehow.
I can tell you something interesting. I can tell you something interesting you did this week. On TikTok on Wednesday at 2:23 p.m. Central Standard Time, you sent me a post by Jar Jar Twinks, and it says, right here. It's a little blurred. I'll just read it. It's fine. It says, "Sometimes home isn't four walls. It's two eyes and a heartbeat." Maybe this will show. Maybe no.
The picture
no?
of.
It's kind of.
Put it in front of your face, and then it might. But yeah, Jar Jar Twinks or whatever it was.
There it is. Yeah, that's the photo attached to it. So that's something interesting you did this week. There's another one. I don't know if I'm allowed to show that one on here, though.
I send this guy the weirdest shit on TikTok. My For You page is
that
basically
was self-evident. I don't think that you needed to state that.
Well, I mean.
By the way, after watching that video, I sent you the piss bomb tutorial. Have you given it a shot?
Come again? The what now?
The piss bomb.
Okay, that's what I thought you said the first time. Thank you for clarifying.
Of course.
This guy, I don't think they're really jugs of piss, but he has milk jugs. He has this entire room of his house just filled with jugs of what looks like piss, and he has these tutorials on like how to make piss air. So he takes like, you know, that square white plastic fan every single one of us has owned at one point in our life.
I don't even know if I want to hear the end of this. I don't like where this is going at all.
Well, he just like takes all the jugs of piss and takes the lids off of all of them, and then puts the fan like behind them so it's blowing at you.
Exactly where I thought this was going.
And that's his piss air tutorial. So
I got some bad news for you, Mr. I got some bad news. I'm almost 100% positive that is piss.
Well, I mean,
I don't know. It's a lot. If he actually has stored that much, he had 2 entire gallon jugs full of it, and he was doing piss jug curls. 1, 2.
Like, not that long. I mean, I think you're underestimating the amount of pee that the average person produces over like several months.
Yeah, but who wants to hold on to their own pee that long?
That guy specifically.
I mean, he does seem to have found a purpose for it. He's got the CEO mindset.
Yeah,
we'll put it that way.
There's this.
All right. Well, I can see that you guys are really plumbing the riches of that the internet has to offer here with that.
Yeah, TikTok.
That's not even the dark side of TikTok. That's the normal side.
TikTok doesn't really give me anything of value anymore. It's just for the lulz. I try to contribute. I would say my contributions to TikTok are equal parts lulz and facts. I think most people would agree with that, but yeah, it's literally just for entertainment purposes only for me at this point. What I get out of it, I guess I would say. Shit, I was just gonna say something. Now I don't remember what it was. I don't think it was about piss air though. It was about.
Was it about the piss bomb?
No, it was
the pilk. God damn it! I can't even speak.
It was something else.
Speaking of pilk, has anyone ever tried that Pepsi and milk?
Ew, no.
I haven't
Damn
either.
it. I was going to do the Sour Skittle Mountain Dew thing. I was going to do that this week, and then I forgot to buy them both. I don't know if I could. I don't know if I could even drink half of it. Grayson, you have no idea what we're talking about. So,
I'm still stuck on Pilk. I can't get over Pilk.
Pepsi milk, yeah.
That's a real thing. If you look it up, it's actually pretty
I-
popular. People swear by it. I will never
I-
try it though. That sounds
I
awful.
actively resent that is a real thing. That's disgusting.
Pepsi.
It's
Yep. That's
The other day, I saw a video of a street vendor in India
Oh,
that
no.
was making Pepsi eggs. He's
Oh.
doing scrambled eggs and just like pouring Pepsi onto them,
what the
like
hell?
while he's frying them. It was just why?
That
And
sounds
called-
like an awful decision.
you go down the street and get some pegs.
You
God.
you do not.
Wait,
So
you-
I don't think you have TikTok. You do not want
No,
to
no.
search Indian street food on TikTok. It is the most diabolical. It's just it's people grabbing scoops of what looks like Castrol GTX with their bare hand, putting it in a plastic cup, and there's rats inside of the goop fighting all the time. It's just
Oh.
it'll radicalize you. You don't want to watch that kind of stuff because you just go, what the fuck is going on? It's
Oh,
Dude,
man.
and there be people defending it. They're like, "No, dude, but it tastes good." It's like,
Oh, I
look,
don't
all right,
think
it
so.
it could taste amazing. I'm not touching it.
there's this
Yeah.
there's
I actually saw some cool educational things on the internet this week, as like mind blowing as that is.
yeah, let's
I'm
let's
like,
let's switch to
I think
that.
I think maybe it's the advantage of not having a TikTok, maybe, is that I'm actually like seeing like new scientific publications and I'm being like, wow, this is so awesome. Our humanity
I
is
envy
progressing
you.
forward. And like I feel like getting a TikTok would just like give me the complete like balancing sensation.
Can we do a brief timeout because it is my university, my alma mater's homecoming week, and I just got a picture on Snapchat of one of the floats. Chew up the beavers.
Oh,
Why do they got Benson on there though?
Chew up the beavers.
okay, they gotta know. They have to know.
Oh, they know. They're college kids. So,
Okay.
anyways, back to the educational content.
Like let me think about the various scientific papers and discoveries I saw this week. Some of the really interesting ones were that you know how that there are like certain, and I think Plant Peterson, we talked about this just a couple days ago because it was fresh on my mind then. Because I saw Bree from HiveSci talking about it, where there was a paper that showed that like the ants' symbiotic relationship that they have with fungi, where it's basically like they domesticated a species of fungus and grow it as if it's like their agricultural product.
Yeah.
And this paper was showing that they've been doing this since the asteroid impact that unalived the dinosaurs, because immediately after that asteroid impact, right, photosynthesis was just fucked on Earth for like several years. Like the sky was blotted out, plants were screwed, like the overall amount of sugar being produced from photosynthesis just like collapsed. So the ants adapted to this by basically like one of the few species or like types of species that was really, really successful after the dinosaurs wiped out and plants collapsed was the fungus, like fungi. And that you have all this radiation of new types of fungal species and all these like really, really successful years for fungus evolution immediately after that impact. And that's the period of time when these plants domesticated this fungal species. And they've had this, agriculture of this domesticated fungus crop, and they've been practicing it for like 60 million years. So it's like, yeah, Bree was the one that pointed this out that I like had this mind-blowing experience with, where I was like, yeah, like so many people, if you ask when was agriculture invented, they say, oh, the Neolithic Revolution 10,000 years ago. But if you don't have so much of a human-centric point of view there, when was agriculture invented? Oh, 66 million years ago. It just is a totally different shift. Like the ants invented agriculture and animal husbandry with aphids so much earlier than humans did. Like, and we think that this is what catapulted us towards advanced civilization and everything. Well, the ants have been there for a minute.
You want to hear something kind of kinky?
I
Um,
I don't know.
yeah, I don't know how to answer that, so I'll just,
It's about
I'm
bugs.
just gonna. It's kinky about bugs. That
Yeah.
makes me even more uncertain, but I'm just gonna go for it for the sake of the stream.
Aphids can be born pregnant.
That
I
doesn't seem healthy.
or kinky.
Well, yeah, I don't know.
I'm like, I'm just questioning a lot right now.
How? How does that occur?
I don't remember, but I mean, I'll get a source for it and throw it up in the chat here.
Okay.
I saw it on a SciShow video.
Yeah, well, you see, me personally, unless the information came from Ron on TikTok, then I don't really trust it personally.
Okay, well, I'm not seeing SciShow, but I'm seeing several other videos that say the exact same thing. So,
Did anybody here see the new Kyrgyzstan video? That was also probably that might have been the biggest mind blow that I had the entire week.
well,
About it was about the deep biosphere. Have you heard anything about this? Because I had not.
Like
And
the Kyrgyzstan video, would you say?
Kurzgesagt,
yeah,
What?
Kyrgyzstan,
birds?
whatever.
How the hell do you? Oh, okay. I thought you. I
No,
thought you were
so-
talking about Kyrgyzstan.
Kyrgyzstan.
What the
Did you guys see that
fuck?
new
What the
video
hell?
they filmed in Kyrgyzstan?
Yeah, no, the it's about the deep biosphere, which I didn't know about, but apparently the total biomass of every living thing on the surface of the earth is dwarfed by the biomass deep within the earth's interior. And the amount of undiscovered species and evolutionary, lineages that are just completely unknown to science in the deep biosphere is like basically discovering, it's like this entire time we've known about biology, it's like we've been in the Mediterranean Ocean. And it's like now we just discovered there's an entire Atlantic Sea beyond like the Straits of Gibraltar. Like it's like crazy the amount of like new species, new biochemistry, new lineages of evolution, all just complete extreme conditions of heat and temperature and resource availability, and like some of these organisms just seem to be like functionally immortal. Like their metabolisms are so slow that they just wait for nutrients to come to them, and it can be thousands and thousands of years, and it's just like just an incredibly different type of life existing deep within Earth's interior. And specifically, something that they did not bring up in the Kyrgyzstan video that made me start thinking when I was learning about this deep biosphere, because I have like a real big interest in abiogenesis and the origin of life. It's like, what if life started in the deep biosphere and did not start in the oceans or on the surface? Now, because we didn't know about this whole deep biosphere, this entire ecosystem with all of this biodiversity until very recently. So, what are there any kind of potential abiogenic mechanisms inside the Earth's interior that we have not discovered yet? It's like a whole new frontier of science just opening up.
They pretty much all like bacteria, protists, stuff like that, or
There apparently are some small, even like multicellular organisms that are like apex predators down there that like somehow have seeped through cracks in the groundwater or something. But apparently, and this was a way that Kirk Scott phrased it that blew my mind in particular. Like they are like one of the best science communicators. Like the way that they communicate information is so good with the animations. But they were talking about rock weather. So, like on the surface, we have weather conditions, but they were describing the way that the rocks in the Earth's interior changes and the way that it opens up new environments by creating new cracks and fissures and closing off old one. And it's like a constantly shifting labyrinth of like new openings that are exposing new micronutrients, new environments for life to colonize into. And that's constantly changing. And so they're like saying that they're basically like weather conditions of rocks that are just like occurring in these cycles of new environments opening up and new frontiers, and it's just like a constant like really complex evolutionary environment for like all of these new species that were just completely unknown. Like I don't think that there's anything like big and multicellular that's going to be a big surprise, but who knows at this point? I mean, come on. Who knows? Some of these like they're basically all extremophiles. So usually those are going to be, single celled, but there are some really cool extremophiles out there like the tardigrade. So who knows?
Sorry, I heard everything you said, but at the very end, this guy in the chat said, "Life finds a hole."
Yep. I mean, Jeff Goldblum, legend. Life finds a hole.
Finds a hole. Yeah, I'll have to watch that. I have that queued up. I don't know why. There was something that made me remember this. I just don't know what it is. But do you guys know that YouTube video that Tom Scott made where it's just titled, "This video has blank views," and it still matches perfectly to this day?
Yeah.
I have no idea how the hell he did that. But it has 72 million views now. So
I'm not tech savvy enough to even begin to understand.
Yeah, I don't know. It's funny. I looked that up, and then the video under it says this video has 23,419 views. The video has 1.4 million views. So what a fucking idiot! I'm gonna leave a comment. Let him know that he's a moron.
Yeah, this week I guess
top tier hater. My
there
God,
were a lot of discoveries in like biology like that. And yeah, I guess I haven't seen a lot of new physics papers this week, but I've been seeing a lot of biology ones that have been interesting. And yeah, William Lane Craig actually responded to a video of mine. So this week I've been going into some of the philosophical arguments that he brought up. I made a video that was correcting his Kalam argument, and then he just, I guess, saw it and made a response video of little old me. And so that was kind of cool. So I still need to formally respond to William Lane Craig's and make a comeback, because yeah, some of the things that he was saying, I mean, he just completely, I mean, to a shock to I don't think anybody listening, he completely strawmanned my argument and quote mined me out of context to misconstrue the point I was making. So big shocker. I know nobody really expects a creationist.
He just knows your argument better than you do because he's William Lane Craig.
Yeah, it's just weird. Like, I would grant that he would know the Kalam argument better than I did because he wrote his doctoral thesis on it. But, like, he doesn't know my argument better than I do because he, like...
Yes, he does. He's William Lane Craig.
Watched it. But yeah, I mean, who would have thought that the Christian apologist would have done something like that, right? I mean, I've never heard of such quote mining behavior. So
all you have to do when they quote mine is you just have to sit there and just talk about how the context makes it okay. Because that's all they do.
Oh, I'm surprised that he responded. I have 2 videos on William Lane Craig, and I'm surprised that he responded to this one because the other one, I'm just calling him out for being like a horrendous genocidal maniac. When you were talking about the Bible passages, oh, hey, that's a weird time for balloons to come up.
How did that even happen?
What was that?
I didn't do anything on my end.
Well, I think it's in OBS because if you do this, you get a thumbs. Yeah, it does that. How do you do the? How do you do?
Okay, well maybe I don't know what just happened, but apparently the trigger word was genocidal maniac makes the balloon come up.
I didn't even catch that.
What if balloons popped up when you said it again? You're like, and it's confirmed.
Yeah,
and it's confirmed.
But okay, so it was related to the passage you were talking about earlier. I don't know if it's the same passage that you made that like woman read on TikTok, but like basically William Lane Craig makes the argument to justify specifically the genocide of children, like the Canaanite children, and says that it's actually good. It was a morally good thing to do, to kill not just the children, but the infants and the farm animals of the Canaanites. And he tries to justify that as being morally good. And I made a whole video just like basically saying like, this is morally repugnant. This is evil shit, vile, evil shit. And like, never had a response on that one, so I don't know.
He sounds like a great guy, just
it's
from the outside looking in.
His podcast is called the Reasonable Faith Podcast. It's like, yes, very reasonable, advocating the genocide of children.
Yeah, sounds very kind and considerate.
Yeah. How's that? So the video I uploaded to YouTube today, I don't think it's gonna do all that well because it has the word rim job in the title.
What?
But
I'm watching it.
you never know.
I'm watching it right now. I'm leaving the podcast. I'm going to watch it.
Yeah, this guy who goes by Made by Jim Bob did a
Oh.
4-hour video going over 2 videos of mine, and he's a fucking asshole. So I was like, okay, well, we're just gonna call you Rim Job instead of Jim Bob. So
Yeah,
That's amazing.
I've spoken with Jim Bob before. He is not exactly a pleasant human being.
no, not really.
He took the same approach as, oh gosh, what's that one flat earther's name? Nathan Oakley did to one of my videos. I posted what was it, like a 1:30 long video on TikTok. He did a stream and responded to it for 4 hours.
Wow.
You
just kept pausing it.
know that there's a dome? We don't
was-
even claim that there's a dome over the earth. So
We
every
showed, like-
time you globers affirm the consequent, it exposes you as being the dumbasses that we think you are.
Did you
I
know
don't know
that
if I still
celestial
have
navigation actually assumes the flat Earth?
Yeah.
My
we-
God, that
we've
one's
heard
also
it all.
frustrating. But the point that he stuck on for the longest, there was just like a little graphic that I showed where it's just like a curved line and then like a person standing on it and then a line showing like how the curve would cut off their view. He's like, so you're telling me we need to get outside of our body and look at ourselves from the side to see the curve? You can't do that. You can't get outside of your body. You're stuck in your body. It's
So,
what
yeah,
the fuck are you talking about,
drawing
Nathan?
diagrams equals a what do you call now? There's a word for out of body experiences, but like, yeah, that's what it is.
Dude, he wants you to astral project to see
Yeah,
the curve.
That word. Yeah, the fucking crazy vampire LGBTQ spirit ladies and their astral projections.
Yeah, I was thinking about there are like 2 videos I wanted to make that were like flat Earth experiments that are debunking the flat Earth like with an actual empirical demonstration. But I didn't think about I should just astral project for a video to debunk it. Like that would be because I was thinking about stuff like having, a simultaneous stream of somebody in South Africa and Australia and South America all looking at the Southern Cross in the South at the same time, which wouldn't be possible on a flat Earth. I was thinking about that, but like I should just, that requires a lot of logistics and coordination with people on 3 continents. That sounds complicated. All I had to do was just astral project with a GoPro.
We already actually did 2/3 of that. We already did South Africa and Australia at the same time. Someone named Globey McGlobeface.
Yeah.
They can't explain 2, but they're saying they're not going to try to explain it until we get all 3. And it's like, if you
Yeah.
can't explain 2, why would you add another one and make it harder? That sounds counterintuitive. And also, I see that you have a spinning globe back there. Clearly, though, the true model is a gyroscope flat Earth.
Well, if you look at it, this is the true model because it's being suspended by electromagnetism because
Oh, you got a point there.
I love how you Freemasons just like literally put it right in front of us, thinking that we won't notice. Oh, hey,
Yeah,
Katie.
speaking of electromagnetism, yeah, duh, that's how the globe works. It holds
follower.
together with magnets.
Did you 3D print that?
My girlfriend's dad actually 3D printed both those things for me.
There's this
Very
guy at
cool.
the mall here locally, and he sells 3D printed shit, and it is so freaking cool. He has like superhero masks, like full-sized ones that you can put on, like Spider-Man with like all the complex webbing. You can 3D print that perfectly, and every time I go there, I'm like, I want to buy like 5 things, but I know they would be insanely expensive.
Well, you do have Spanky right behind you. Maybe you could work out a deal.
Maybe. Actually, I was there the other day and he was gone, so maybe he wasn't getting any sale. He seemed like a horrible salesman because I've like gone up there several times to like look at stuff, and he never ever once got out of his chair to like just be like, "Are you interested in anything?" So I don't know why you'd
Oftentimes-
3D printers are expensive and printing that shit is expensive. So it's just like making
oftentimes
no
I can
effort.
say that like the actual like creatives, the artistic creator types are not the best salespeople. So maybe,
Yep.
he's the guy that 3D printing is his hobby and he loves making stuff on 3D printing and he's looking for a way to fund his hobby, but he's probably not a natural salesperson, which, it's a more rare combination to find an actual person who has sales skills and creative artistic ability. Like,
Well, all artists are depressed, miserable uh, people. They that just have no interpersonal skills. It's
Yeah,
just
you
kind
would
of
know,
the
wouldn't
truth.
you?
Yes, I would. I'm speaking from experience.
I know. I really wanted to make sure we all knew you were talking about yourself. We're here for you.
No, I'm
Okay,
talking about artists.
if you ever need a virtual hug, I can like hug the mic or something.
Name
You know,
one
you could
artist who
feel it.
seems like they're the kind of person that has it together.
Weird Al Yankovic.
Yeah. He's
He
actually
seems like
like a
he's got it
freaking
figured out.
genius. I don't know if you guys knew that, but
yeah, he
to
is. He's
do
awesome.
parody stuff like that, you have to be pretty damn smart. Okay, somebody asked in the I have no idea if you guys are looking at YouTube chat, but somebody asked if they think anti-scientism, what did it say? Do you think anti-science, anti-intellectualism is on the rise lately? So I get asked this a lot, and I think the answer is sort of like yes and no. So I've answered this question so many times. I'm not pessimistic about the direction things are going, like with scientific knowledge, with like the like culture, like with people's losing trust in institutions and things like that. From an existential standpoint on sort of like science institutions and politics, I am a little bit pessimistic about that, but not knowledge in general. And here's why. Somebody with just an average high school education today probably knows more true facts about the world than some of the smartest people or most highly educated and smartest people only like 100 years ago, considering the breadth of like, not in whatever specialty that person had, but in the overall breadth of that. We didn't even fucking know what made volcanoes erupt 100 years ago. We had no idea. I have a over 100-year-old Earth science book, and it talks about how they have this idea that it's trapped steam, or it's like buildup of steam that makes it happen, which is part of it, but not the entire thing. Or no, actually, sorry, that was earthquakes. They thought earthquakes were caused by that. But anyways, like the internet and stuff like that, it is making people. I'll backtrack a little bit. Sorry. So a long time, not that long ago, but especially a long time ago, the vast majority of people were just ignorant about things. They just didn't know very much at all. And while yes, a lot of people today believe in things that are false, the gulf of all the stuff we don't know has been filled in at the same time. So it's kind of almost like knowledge has been polarized. It used to be very democratized. Everybody knew nothing. and even not that long ago, very highly educated people were so wrong because we didn't know so many things. And now today, a lot of people know these basic facts that were beyond normal people not that long ago. And yes, a lot of people know or think a lot of dumb things that are false, but I'll take that over widespread ignorance. That's my view on it.
I think that's probably largely correct for like a big picture approach. And you are kind of correct that in like the micro picture, like trust in science has been declining, and like overall being anti-expert opinion has become more popular, especially like the pandemic kick-started or like supercharged a lot of this. You can see this in like actual research of like people's trust in science or expert opinions over time. It's like there's a difference between liberals and conservatives already politically about just in those rates. And then after the pandemic, that difference was just like supercharged.
Right.
So in the 2020s era in particular, we definitely have seen a big uptick in anti-science, anti-intellectualism, anti-expertise in general. I mean, we saw this just recently in the vice presidential debate where like JD Vance was literally just saying like experts have been wrong before, we shouldn't trust expert opinions. And like that's the argument he was making. So we have seen a rise in that kind of sentiment, but I do agree that overall, like, we are moving towards a state where the average person has more and more true facts about our empirical reality of like both available to them and that they know. And even though we have seen a rise with the internet of things like flat eartherism that really only came about since like what 2015 and has just been a huge internet movement ever since that's been gaining pace in the 2020s. But I think that that's ultimately a very short-lived thing. I mean, technologically, within this century, we will have relatively cheap space tourism. Like, you'll be able to buy a ticket and go up to space. I don't really see the flat earthers outlasting that technology. As soon as, like, you can just buy a ticket and you can eat like dinner in low orbit and you can see the curve of the earth for yourself. Like, I just don't think that the flat earther movement can really survive that. So I think that ultimately these little hiccups are just sort of hiccups along the overarching trend that Planet Peterson is describing, where people are advancing in scientific knowledge over time and it's being democratized to a larger percentage of people and is more available. And one last thing I'll say about flat earthers and the flat earther movement is that there's always been flat earthers, just like there's always been a village idiot. At every small town has one. Everybody knows that there's a village idiot. What the internet has done is connected all the village idiots of the world together into one big movement called Flat Earth. So that's not my perception.
Yeah, because
of it
they
anyway.
believe in every conspiracy. You know what's funny? When you said village idiot, I went like this. Now where us three are, I'm pointing at Grayson, but on YouTube, I'm pointing at Tyler. So
I'm glad that you
Well, for
clarified
both
that.
you're pointing at me. Yeah, for both you're pointing at me, so it works. I was gonna say,
just go
I
like
think
that.
I think you're underestimating flat earthers' persistence. We've shown them stuff of people in space, civilians going into space, and
Fake.
I think they would go as far as outright saying like these aren't windows, these are TVs. This isn't real. This is all fake. We're still on Earth.
If you took them up there, they'd say they possessed me with the devil and I had this dream that I went to outer space.
You guys, I actually have had this television show idea for years now. Ever since I first heard of Flat Earth, I've thought like, if I'm ever in the place where I can produce a TV show and pitch an idea to some television execs to get this to happen, this is my idea, right? We take a group of flat earthers and every episode we do a progressively more elaborate demonstration that the earth cannot be flat. And each time it's weeding some out as they're being convinced. And the season finale is taking whoever's left up into space. And I just think it would be great television. I mean, it doesn't have to change their mind, but it would be entertaining to see what kind of mental gymnastics and hoops that they will have to go through in order to rationalize what is happening to them. And if they still don't believe when they're in space, we put them in a suit and send them on an EV, like a spacewalk.
I think I have a good stipulation on that. That's a fantastic idea, as long as we make sure that the trip to space
One way.
is a one-way trip. Because if it takes that much to convince them of a basic fact of life, then maybe we'd do better. They'll be the first ones on Mars. We'll put them there, and we'll say, all right, you guys figure it out.
Okay,
you guys are clearly smarter than us.
We can't do that because the first people on Mars will be viewed as like pioneers in human history, and like I don't think those could be flat earthers.
I'm okay with that,
Oh,
as
man.
long as they're not here.
I got a 10-year prediction for you guys.
Okay, shoot.
NASA's going to be accused of going woke because the first people that walk on Mars, it's a really good possibility they'll be women. And that's because I read this in, I think it was National Geographic a while back. It's just simply because women are on average smaller and don't need as many resources. And like every ounce of material you can save is millions of dollars for, an
It's even
endeavor.
better than that. Women have advantages in scuba diving and stuff because they perform better in low oxygen environments. They perform better in tests of muscle stamina and endurance. Like they have a better pain threshold than men. Like there are lots of things that make female astronauts like better than male astronauts. So
Interesting.
Female
Yeah,
athletes too, same thing.
yeah,
They're
yeah.
they're
The endurance
they're
thing's
crazy.
weird. It's like the longer the race is, a woman has more of an advantage the longer the race, which is really weird because their hip structure and knee structure is inefficient because their femurs are angled more inward. So it's kind of weird that that's the case, but I don't know. I'd have to read. There's this really cool book called The Sports Gene. It's about like the science behind like different body shapes and styles and different group, like why are Kenyans the best marathon runners and it's not even close and stuff like that. That's a really cool book that everybody could check out.
Yeah, there's also a lot of cultural stuff that goes along with that too. Like when you grow up in a village that's known as producing like the fastest, best runners in the world, and then every morning you run to school and like running has a huge cultural emphasis when you're growing up that like you need to be practicing it and you need to be a good runner because everybody where you're from is a good runner. Like that is going to shape your relationship with running and how good at it you are. So it's a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy as well. Like there's more than just genetic or biological components like to specifically explaining the kind of data that we see for sports.
Yeah.
What wasn't there? What is it? I don't know how to pronounce this, but there's like certain people in like Southeast Asia, and they're able to hold their breath for like
Yeah.
super long periods of time because their spleen is larger, so it holds more like red blood cells, more oxygenated blood,
Yeah, the
and that kind of
divers.
stuff. Yeah, that kind of stuff is just crazy to think about, and
That
it's like
is a
they'll
genetic
probably
thing.
do.
That
Yeah,
one is.
they probably do absolutely insane. Put them. We need to get them in the pool. We need to see how they do.
Hmm.
There's this. I don't
Or like
remember.
the
I don't.
Tibetan people have more efficient oxygen transport in their blood. Like their actual like I think it's their heme protein, but like they actually have modifications that makes it so that their blood is more efficiently using oxygen at higher altitudes. And the interesting thing is that they didn't get that gene. They did not like Homo sapiens did not evolve that gene. They got that gene from the Denisovans. Like the Denisovan genome has the gene for that specific blood protein, and like through interbreeding with Denisovans in Eurasia, that's where modern day human populations derive that gene from. Pretty interesting.
It's really cool.
All right, we got time for one more topic of somebody who isn't me's choosing.
I don't have anything
Well, that's
interesting
last
happening.
year, so, Globe Man, you wanna close us out here?
I have absolutely nothing interesting happen. I don't know if you guys follow the UFC, and there's fights tonight, and that's the only thing that I would know to talk about. So I got nothing.
Yeah, if I want to watch millionaires give each other brain damage, I'll watch football.
Oh no, dude, these are UFC fights. Some of them are they're barely making like 16 grand a fight. They
Have you
they
ever
fight twice a year. They'd be better off in at a Taco Bell.
have you ever heard about the city sport of Florence, Italy? Because
Uh,
I'm not a big sports guy at all, but I like that one. They do it only once a year, I think, and it's all the different neighborhoods in Florence each produce a team, and they stand in a line like this, and it's like a UFC match, only they don't have any protective equipment. They're just dudes in funny Renaissance style pants, and they're just standing here like this with just bare wraps around their knuckles, and they just beat the shit out of each other. Like all of them. There's like 20 or 30 dudes on each
oh my
team, and
God.
then there's a ball. And one guy's got to get the ball across the other team where everyone's actively just trying to hunt you down and beat you up. And you have to get the ball and score it in the goal. And it's like a tiny little slit that you have to throw the ball into. And it's like it's a really, really entertaining sport. Like I'm not a
I'm
big
looking
sports
at it right now. This is crazy.
like, but after watching this sport, every time I watch football or UFC, I'm like, yeah, these guys are lightweights. Send them to Florence. Like I'm like, so I like that sport, but that's only once a year, and yeah, but it's really entertaining.
Dude, that's
Yeah,
oh my
I know
God.
nothing
People
about
being
this.
rushed out on stretchers. This is the first time I've seen it. And this
And
is
they're not
ridiculous.
paid. They don't get any money. It's just bragging rights for your neighborhood. That's it.
Dude,
They
hell
throw a
yeah.
big party. for the winner.
I would consider a party in my name payment. It's not money, but it'll make me feel good. It'll make me
Yeah,
not feel like a beta the way that Planet Peterson always tries to portray me.
yeah, we'll see how many athletes would do their sport if all they got was a party for their neighborhood.
Dude, you got to get you're not gonna know this name. You got to get this dude named Mike Perry. He's the guy who fought Jake Paul. He got his ass beat by Jake Paul, but I have a feeling that he would have a good time in there. He's one of those people where I think when he gets hit, he like maybe has like a kink for it.
Well, that would make you good in boxing, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah,
I guess the objective is to not get hit, but
it's like I guess if you do, yeah, you'd rather enjoy it than not.
yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I have actually like no knowledge. Like, I mean, I took Krav Maga in high school. Like, I can hold my own in a fight, but in terms of like sports and knowledge of boxing or boxing as a sport, I basically know nothing about sports. It's my weakest category on Jeopardy. I'll put it that way.
love
I really
sports.
only know about fighting. That's about it. You ask me about hockey, football, basketball, baseball. I don't know nothing.
Well,
Like,
next
you
week
know,
I'll be back with
Bell-
all new co-hosts that do like sports.
Look, all right. I like the real sport where they just beat the shit out of each other.
Yeah, a real Chad sport.
Yeah. Yeah, we have the Chad Alpha Sport interests over here. If I could remember the Italian name of that game in Florence right now, I would have dropped it on you and it would have sounded really cool. So just pretend that I did that. But we have that sport. Okay, that's the most alpha Chad sport that there is, in my opinion. And that one from Japan of the giant towers where everybody rushes it and climbs on top of it. You know the one I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Those are the two most alpha sports possible, okay? So you can have your football, you can have your whatever sports you like, Planet Peterson. We'll keep the cool ones.
Sure. The thing we'll end with was, speaking of Chad, I made a video that I uploaded yesterday discussing the ad hominem fallacy. And somebody said, there's a new one. It's called the Chad homonym fallacy. And it's when you accuse your opponent of like not being man enough or being a beta or something like that. I was like, that's actually really funny. The Chad homonym. So
Yeah.
Dude, I would use that constantly. Oh my gosh.
you should,
That's good.
starting now.
Okay. All right, shut up, Beta. I don't want to hear anything you got to say. Everything you've said to this point has not been supported by any CEO mindset or alpha vibes, so I'm just going to have to deny it.
Literally no testosterone studies can support anything that this guy is saying.
I can barely hear you down there with that low T.
All right, that does it.